Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation held its annual meeting in Jackson this week. The group celebrated its victory in the eminent domain initiative vote held in November.
The Mississippi 4-H Museum gets a makeover that includes a cow you can milk. A grand reopening was held recently in Jackson.
In Southern gardening, cool season whimsy. Don't be afraid to let garden art stand out in the cool season landscape.
In the markets, the Navy announces a huge biofuels purchase for 2012, while predicted decline in corn prices may help catfish farmers and livestock producers.
In the feature segment, flowers that brighten the future. The Palmer Home for Children in Mississippi sells poinsettias to raise funds, but money is not the goal.
Teaches them responsibility, accountability, how to maintain whatever equipment and put it back where they got it from. And it also makes them to be time for work and then how to work as leaders or as a group. Some of them get in here and they really mature and prosper.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week.
Mississippi's largest organization representing rural and agricultural interest held its annual meeting this week.
Well, Leighton, more than 500 people participated in the annual meeting of the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation. A lot of the talk at this year's gathering focused on the victory that Farm Bureau led in the eminent domain initiative on the November ballot. The members of the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation worked hard for 2 years on the eminent domain initiative. It passed by an overwhelming 73 to 27% vote. The group wanted to strengthen private property rights. It specifically wanted to prevent state and local governments from taking private land and then turning it over to a private developer, a practice approved by the U.S. Supreme Court.
It goes so much further than just the initiative and Initiative 31 and protecting private property rights. I think it just makes a huge statement to everyone out there how strong our numbers are and how strong the rural vote and the ag vote in the rural community is. You know, even the governor-elect came out and said, you know, I really didn't realize how strong Farm Bureau was and how strong the rural and ag vote was in this state.
The Mississippi Farm Bureau gathered the necessary signatures more than a year ago, which were needed to get the eminent domain initiative on the November ballot. It then fought hard to convince voters to support its position. Keynote speaker and Agricultural Commissioner-elect Cindy Hyde-Smith said the victory had earned Farm Bureau new respect in the state's political establishment.
This was the first time in Mississippi history that a constitutional amendment has actually been passed at the ballot box. There have been 37 initiatives filed with the Secretary of State's office. Prior to this year, only 2 have made it to the ballot and both of them failed. The ag vote has brought respect to a whole new level. It has totally amazed me the significant notch that has been carved into the measuring stick of politics. Everyone in this state has stood up and taken notice of how stout the Farm Bureau influence is.
The Mississippi Farm Bureau said that it expects the eminent domain initiative to be challenged in court. With so many newly elected office holders in the Mississippi legislature, Farm Bureau President Randy Knight said his organization will make sure the new leaders know how important agriculture is to the state.
We just got a big education process, I think, to educate these new freshman leaders coming on and of the importance of agriculture and how important agriculture is to this state.
The Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation took the time this week to honor those who work on behalf of state agriculture and represent its future. One of those will be the state's new governor in 2012. Farm Bureau honored Governor-elect Phil Bryant with its Friend of Agriculture Award.
Thank you so very much. Somehow this next generation, as I said earlier, gets the idea that corn always came from a can. And somewhere is a factory that they receive their bacon from. and it's ready to go in the microwave. They forget that between there and that enjoyment and the field is the farmer. And I can assure you, as governor of the state of Mississippi, we're going to put a new emphasis on agribusiness.
Brad and Carla Spencer of Vardaman won the coveted Young Farmer and Rancher Award. The 33-year-old raises more than 500 acres of sweet potatoes on the family's diversified Calhoun County operation.
Our family farm has been in the business for over 70 years. I'm a third-generation farmer on this same land, and we also rent. My grandfather started with 5 acres of potatoes and increased, and now we grow over 500 acres of sweet potatoes, 300 acres of peanuts, and around 800 acres of soybeans. And me and my 2 kids, Hunter and Justin, we run 50 head of cattle.
The Spencers will compete in January for the American Farm Bureau Young Farmer and Rancher Award. Mississippi 4-H is honoring more than 100 years of its history with a makeover of the Mississippi 4-H Learning Center and Pete Frierson 4-H Museum. The museum is located on the grounds of the Mississippi Agriculture and Forestry Museum in Jackson. A grand reopening was held recently, which highlighted new interactive exhibits along with memorabilia from days gone by. Farmweek's Amy Taylor reports.
4-H members, past and present, gathered at the Mississippi 4-H Learning Center and Pete Frierson 4-H Museum to celebrate the revamping of the facility. The museum first opened its doors in 2007. Inez Somm, Mississippi 4-H Foundation member, says you'll now find a new variety of displays.
It has gone from just being exhibits to being a hands-on museum, which is what 4-H is all about, hands-on. And there's just various exhibits here that the students can come in, learn about 4-H, but learn about things here in Mississippi too, like the forestry, the water tables, the science things that happen here through the 4-H program. And we're so proud of all the exhibits, the kiosks there. It's really brought it up to date and modern and showing what the 4-H kids do this day and age. Do we still show sheep and pigs and cows? Absolutely. But we do a lot of things with computers, science, educational type things.
Some of the new interactive exhibits include a cow that you can actually milk and a talking tree that tells about forestry in Mississippi. Somm says 4-H is an all-inclusive organization.
There is something for everyone in 4-H. They can be part of the horse program and not even have a horse. They can learn to bake, in very simple terms, and take that on into the future for themselves.
Other items that can be found at the museum include sewing construction items such as quilts, creatively designed pillows, hand-sewn clothing, award memorabilia, and even a 4-H Hall of Fame. The goal of the Mississippi 4-H Learning Center and Pete Frierson 4-H Museum is to represent how 4-H helps young people develop skills, serve others, and build a better future for their communities. From Jackson, Mississippi, I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
Do you think the garden is only enjoyable when the summer flowers are blooming? In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension Horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman shows us how to have garden fun in the cool season.
Many times we think the landscape is only fun in the summer when all the plants are blooming, but there's just as much enjoyment to be had in the cooler months. Today I'm at the home of Jane and Ira Lovelace, where Jane has created a unique woodland walk full of surprises. The walk is paved with hand-laid recycled bricks. The moss and lichen gives a feeling of well-worn age to the path. All along the path are hydrangeas and hostas. The neighborhood deer have certainly enjoyed these late-season delicacies. Now is a good time to prune the damaged stems back to make room for next year's growth. The hydrangea flowers will look great in a dried arrangement. Everywhere along the path, Jane has placed interesting art pieces. A rebar stand holds these terracotta pots. They look like they're balancing on each other, ready to tumble at any moment. And have you ever wondered what to do with those broken terracotta pots? Here the shards are laid to rest in a whimsical manner. The bicycles and wagon wheel help to define the boundaries of the path as well as add interest. This old bed springs makes a perfect planter and support for jasmine. Farther down the path, the old push lawnmower leans up against the fence gate where it looks like it was last used. Jane and Ira have certainly used the saying, out with the new and in with the old, for creating interest on their woodland walk. I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Gary says, don't be afraid to let art become your garden's focus in the cool season. Layton, in the feature segment, Flowers That Brighten the Future. See how the Palmer Home for Children in Columbus and Hernando, Mississippi uses horticultural production as a fundraiser and a way to teach life skills. Before we get to the markets with Layton today, though, the 4th annual Mississippi State University Row Crop Short Course, and it was a record breaker. More than 355 people registered, and they had some good speakers.
They did. You missed this gentleman if you weren't there, Kip Cullers, who holds the world record soybean production, 160 bushels per acre from Missouri, and we'll have interviews with him coming up.
Of course, there was a lot there about handling resistant weeds, herbicide strategies for doing that. We're going to have more on that next week and next month on Farm Week, because we shot a lot of interviews there. So next year, if you didn't make it, I suggest you go. And they feed you pretty good, too.
That's what I heard.
Time now, though, for the markets with Layton. And Layton, you say we have some historic news for the biofuels industry.
And also a fast food chain plans ads that showcase farmers. Also in the markets this week, catfish producers have reason to remain upbeat. Analysts say ethanol usage could increase, while a recent rally in the wheat sector is a surprise of sorts. For livestock, poultry, and catfish producers, a prediction this week of declining corn costs heading into 2012 is certainly encouraging news. For catfish, this year of 2011 has brought decreases in processing, but higher pond bank prices. Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley brought us an aquaculture update on Thursday. Well, John Michael, 2011 would be considered a fairly good year if you were a catfish producer in Mississippi.
Well, if you look at the price that you got at the pond bank, I think you could say that prices roughly expected to increase about 47%. We're still waiting on a few of these later month numbers to come in, but I'm projecting that right now, about 47% increase in price, averaging for the year right at $1.17 a pound. So a vast improvement compared to where we were at last year, which was an improvement from previous years as well. A lot of that has to do with the pullback in supply. We've seen water acres across the region come down here in the state, a 38% decline over the past 2 years. Last year was a steep decline. This year, a continued decline in terms of the number of water acres for catfish farming. So the pullback in supply has pushed prices up, but which is really good as a grower. But on the other side of that, you're offsetting that by the fact that they are still facing some really high feed costs. And that's, you know, the feed costs are really high component of those production costs. So any gains that they've seen in terms of the price they get is almost negated.
Now there are some prediction or forecast this week that corn and other feed grains are going to be coming down some for 2012. That obviously would improve that picture some for catfish.
We have seen the price of corn and soybeans, you know, come down over the past couple of weeks. Again, it is a high component of those production costs. So anytime you do see an easing off there, it definitely does help alleviate the situation. The prices that they're receiving, you know, should continue to move in the path that they've been on for 2011, because we are just at in a really tight supply situation for our catfish industry. So that should be received as good news.
Now, as far as foreign competition, the foreign imports, that is a problem that is not going away by any means.
It has been, it continues to be, and based on where prices are at for our domestic catfish, it is one that's not going to go anyway anytime soon. Retailers, you know, they're feeling the ramifications of these higher prices, and they're looking for other alternatives to make available to consumers.
Fast food giant McDonald's is planning a new ad campaign, one that will feature farmers. Brownfield Ag News reports the campaign will roll out in 2012. McDonald's Midwest Region Manager Debbie Roberts says, quote, "We will actually bring to the consumer the folks who are actually producing the product so that they know it's coming from the farm." McDonald's says the ads are in response to an increasing number of consumer questions about where the food served by the fast food chain comes from. Our trivia question is next on the program. We don't often ask anything about wheat, but we do this week. How many loaves of whole wheat bread does a bushel of wheat produce? Is it 29 loaves, or 42, or 77, or as many as 90? We'll tell you in just a few more minutes.
We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar in the second part of the markets. Leighton Spann reports the Navy has made a huge biofuel purchase for next year. We'll also update you on soybean and wheat stocks. In the feature segment today, flowers that brighten the future. The Palmer Home for Children uses horticultural production to teach its residents life skills.
Each year, many Mississippians are seriously injured or killed in farm tractor accidents. Transporting and lifting objects with a front loader requires extreme caution. Unsecured objects can roll or slide down the loader arms and injure the driver. To help prevent injuries, tractors should be equipped with a falling objects protection system. Always secure loads or use a bale spear or straps before lifting objects. A message from the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The annual Delta Ag Expo takes place Tuesday and Wednesday, January 17th and 18th in Cleveland, Mississippi. The doors open at 8:30 a.m. both days. It may be one of the best bargains you'll see in 2012 because there's no fee to enter. The Mississippi Delta Farm Toy Show will be Saturday, January 28th. The location is the Coahoma County Expo Center in Clarksdale. Hours are 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. There's no admission fee. Mid-America Farm Publications is producing its 15th annual Ag Production Conference on January 31st and February 1st. Cotton, rice, corn, and soybeans will be covered, as well as precision agriculture. The location is Harris Casino's Convention Center at Tunica. 48 farmers, 58 researchers, and 10 crop consultants are scheduled to appear. We will have a link on the Farm Week calendar to help you register. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now let's check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
The single largest purchase of biofuel in government history was announced this week. The Defense Department ordered 450,000 gallons of biofuel for the U.S. Navy. The fuel will include used cooking oil processed in Louisiana and some algae-based biofuel produced in California. The biofuel will be blended with marine diesel and with aviation jet fuel and gas for demonstration by Navy ships and aircraft next summer. Former Mississippi Governor and present Navy Secretary Ray Mabus says the Navy's goal is to use biofuels to cover half of its energy needs by the year 2016. From biofuel to ethanol now. 2011 is ending with very strong demand for corn for ethanol production, according to the website meetingplace.com. However, demand after the first of the year is much more uncertain due to the expiration of the blender's tax credit. Analyst Sue Martin seems to think the profitability is still there for ethanol in 2012.
We should see an increase in ethanol usage, and yet it's thought that the blender's credit's probably going away at the end of December. So how will the USDA address that? Will they look ahead and say that could slow up some demand, or will they just look at where we are today? And of course, with crude oil over $100 a blue barrel and corn prices dropping like they have, I would think ethanol profitability is still there.
There are abundant supplies of wheat around the world right now, and that's why some analysts were surprised somewhat at what was billed as a temporary rally that occurred recently in that sector of the markets. Analyst Tom Fitzenmeyer of Summit Commodities, in fact, doesn't think wheat has a lot going for it right now. He says he thinks there's probably even a little more downside in this market yet.
That Black Sea wheat or feed grains in general are substantially underpriced from ours. There was some concern about, the winter wheat, but that's kind of gotten planted and found just enough moisture to sort of get it started. So that sort of faded back into the background as a market factor, and wheat just doesn't have a lot going for it.
We're recording this program prior to the Friday, December 9 USDA Supply and Demand Update. Brownfield Ag News reports analysts expect bigger soybean and wheat ending stocks in that report. Analysts on average see month-to-month rises in the ending stocks for U.S. beans and wheat against a smaller supply of corn. Well, to conclude our market segment, we have the trivia answer now to pass along. The correct choice is D. A bushel of wheat can yield about 90 one-pound loaves of whole wheat bread.
More than 100 years ago, the Palmer Home for Children in Columbus, Mississippi was established to help children who lack the nurture and support of a loving family. Today, it has a second location in Hernando. In addition to primary education, the home offers a variety of programs to help develop the work ethic and job skills of its young residents. Growing and selling poinsettias for the holiday season is one of the activities that helps the young people develop the skills they will use in the future. Farmweek's Amy Taylor first brought us this story last December.
With their bright, radiant colors and large velvet-like blooms, poinsettias are to most people a symbol of the holiday season. But to the young people at Palmer Home for Children in Columbus, Mississippi, these poinsettias are different. Each year, about 12 boys and girls ages 13 and up help grow the beautiful plants and sell them to the public. Mary Tuggle, grower for the home's greenhouse area, describes what the gardens have to offer.
In the spring of the year, we grow bedding plants, vegetable plants, and annual flowers. And in August, we start poinsettias. We do 3,500 poinsettias. And by Christmas, we've sold out just about 200 left or 100 left, depending.
The gorgeous plants sell fast and are often purchased in bulk by large venues such as churches. Besides traditional red poinsettias, other varieties are offered as well. Kamani Whitfield says a day in the greenhouse begins early.
We got up at 5:30 every morning. Come over here and pull the plastic over the poinsettias. It was pretty early every morning.
Whitfield says plastic covering must be pulled over the plants during certain parts of the day to help preserve their radiant colors. Others who help in the greenhouse describe what they like about the experience.
It's fun to see them grow from being very little to blooming. This project is probably going to last a very long time in years to come.
I like doing this, most of all because get out of basketball practice. But I still like doing it because I still like to help Palmer any way I can.
Young people also say working in the greenhouse teaches the importance of attention to detail and being handy when minor repairs are needed. Besides poinsettias, young people who live in the cottages at Palmer Home also help with the spring gardens. Kimani Whitfield and Chloe Hainsley talk about how the operation works.
In the spring we do all kinds of flowers so we can go on vacation. We can go to vacation and stuff. Yep, and we go to the farmer's market and sell flowers there.
Each of the cottages pick which flowers they want to grow, and that cottage gets their own greenhouse, and they plant and grow them. Then we come out after they're grown and we help sell them. We usually sell all our flowers.
Working in the greenhouse is also beneficial because selling plants is good for sharpening math skills. Mary Tuggle says life at Palmer Home is anything but dull.
They have to work their school schedule, plus extra reading that they do on campus to increase their knowledge in school. They have tutoring after school. They are all involved in sports according to what the child likes. Then they have to work this around their program at night.
By observing the personal developments of these young people, Tuggle talks about what their lives might be like without these valuable experiences.
That would almost be frightful. But I don't think they would be as well-rounded, because they get over here and that little bit of nurturing a plant into a bloom really brings out the better side of some of the children. They see they can accomplish something.
Tuggle describes the many skills Palmer Home children will take away from their greenhouse experience.
It teaches them responsibility, accountability, how to maintain whatever equipment and put it back where they got it from, And it also makes them to be time for work and then how to work as leaders or as a group. Some of them get in here and they really mature and prosper.
Tuggle adds that some children raised at Palmer Home come back to help even after reaching adulthood. From Columbus, Mississippi, I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
You can watch a story again on the Palmer Home for Children on our Farm Week website, Facebook page, or YouTube. We'll also have a number in case you want to get in touch and a web link for the Palmer Home as well. Our website address is farmweek.msucares.com. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. Next week, we'll visit what is probably the world's largest rooftop farm.
It's called the Brooklyn Grange. This 1-acre operation is located in Long Island, New York. Its founders believe this model could be recreated in most urban areas.
In Southern gardening, poinsettias think they only come in red. Well, there are a lot of colors and leaf types to choose from. And if you'd like further information on a Farm Week story, or you want to suggest a Farm Week story to us, you need to write us or get in touch with us somehow. That's Farm Week Box 9625, Mississippi State, Mississippi 39762. That's Farm Week Box 9625, Mississippi State, Mississippi 39762. Our telephone number is 662-325-2262. You can get in touch with us with Facebook or YouTube as well. Get on there and like us. We're looking for that 100th person to like us. See if you'll be that person. You can also get in touch with us through your county office at the Mississippi State University Extension Service. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back next week.